Hey, it's Des, and I'm back. So yeah, Lee Mason, like Joe Budden said, Lee Mason, you're in breach of your contract, and from this point forward, you're fired, and you're not welcome back. Yo, anyways, like I said about these officials in England, man, they, like. I don't. I'm not. I don't. At the end of the day, I don't care for someone being fired from their job or whatever the case may be. He's only going to move on forward and go to somewhere else, and they're going to get paid elsewhere anyway. So it makes no difference. We don't get the points. We're the ones who suffered for his mistake. And going forward, hopefully this just sets like a marker for other referees and other officials to make sure that they're making the right decisions and just stuff like that. But anyways, that's it. Lee Mason, you're out of here. The other guy I want to talk about after the Aston Villa game, Emi Martinez. Emi, you're in the dirt. Rest in piss. That guy's a joker, man. Class A clown. Class A clown, man. It couldn't happen to a better person, man. Because this guy, ever since he left, when he was at Arsenal doing this FA Cup run and everything, he's, I feel like if he's playing for you, you probably enjoy him more. But when he's not on your team, he just looks like a, man, like he's just taking a piss, man. So yeah, man, rest in piss, Emi, man. That Jorginho took the shot, hit the post, hit him in the back of the head, scored an ongoing injury time. Also came up to try and score a goal, obviously, because he thinks he can score. Martinez gets on a counter attack with Fabio Vieira. We score a goal. His manager calls him out. Anyway, at the end of the day, though, he's got a World Cup medal. He's always gonna, have that one. So no matter what anybody says to him, he's done. Like he's reached the pinnacle. And it's not like he won the World Cup with just doing nothing. He won the World Cup playing a key role. So even if I'm gonna hate on him or whatever the case may be, all he has to do is show his World Cup medal and it's over. So, but regardless, Emi, rest in piss, man. Anyways, moving on. Like I said, man, after the City game, I was so annoyed, man. I was so frustrated, because the frustrating thing about this whole thing is now looking at what happened against Nottingham Forest, even though probably they deserve to win that game because Haaland missed clear-cut chances, Foden the same as well, and stuff like that. So they missed. They could have easily won that game, but it's not the fact that they could have easily won that game. It's the fact that they've not really been consistent all season. They've been playing like this. This is not surprising what's been going on. They've been up and down. They've not been consistent. United look more consistent than Man City, and if United continue like this, they're probably going to finish ahead of City. So what does that say for us in this title race, Because that's what I'm trying to say to us, that we should be winning this title. We've been better than Man City this season. I'm not saying we've got better players or this and that. I'm saying we've been playing better than them, we've been performing better, and we've been a lot more consistent than them for longer spells in the season. It's just this recent period in February that's been the issue, where obviously with the Everton game, the Brentford game, the Man City game, just stuff like that, where we clearly played better, and then we just ended up getting the wrong results, and that's really been the issue. And that's why it's so frustrating, because a title is not something that's what's it called, that's easy to combat. You know what I mean? And when you're clearly the better team, you can't allow these lack of experience and these mental hurdles to be the reason why you don't win a title work. Because imagine next season is going to be a lot more difficult. See, you're going to be bouncing back if they don't get a ban. United are coming. Liverpool are going to be looking to improve themselves as well. So this is our chance to make that, to try and win that title and ensure that we don't flop this situation. So that's what's more frustrating about this whole thing. But yeah, man, I feel like when I think about what we've got going forward, we've got 6 good games that we can actually get points off. I feel we can get maximum points in the 6 games before we play Man City. I think it's either 5 or 6 before we play Man City again. And we think we need to get into good form and then try and get our revenge, man. You know what I mean? Get into good form and try and get revenge. At least get a draw off that, or if we can't win. But we've been better than Man City. It would be a shame if we don't win the title, if we lose the title to a team that we've clearly been better than all season. So that's really been the main frustration with the whole Man City situation, especially that second half, man. That second half was so bad, man. It was so frustrating. When you know that you're the better team, you've been playing better. It's just so annoying when there's this little intangibles that ends up costing you, But it is what it is, man. Looking at the Aston Villa game, Obviously, that was a shaky, like a shaky game. But at the end of the day, it was a great result for us to get, coming off some unlucky results that we got recently. Obviously, Everton, like regardless of what anybody says, we could have won that game. Like it's just the way teams are sitting deep and the way we played against that team, and then Brentford again. Looking at the officials and what went wrong in that game as well, that's another game that we easily could have won as well. And then you look at flipping the Man City game where we played a lot better. And then again, another game where we get another unlucky results again. You see what I mean? So it's like we've had some unlucky results recently, and I feel like, what's it called? I feel like this, like that Aston Villa game was basically just us trying to get back. Get back to where we were before, because prior to the Everton and Brentford and City and stuff like that, we were on a good run of form. Besides, obviously, we drew to Newcastle, but we were on a good, a solid run of form. And then those 3 games happened, and it's like, yeah, Aston Villa game was shaky, but we had to do anything to win, And the fact that we won that game so late in the game, also with the fact that we know how well we played against Man City prior to the second half, and how well we played against, and how unlucky we were in the Brentford game, just those kind of situations, and then coming back to get that score 2 goals in extra time against Aston Villa, I feel like it just breaks the whole thing open, and just be like, you know what, like now we're back, like finally we've gotten over that hurdle. We're not on this run of not winning and things like that, and now we can get back on track again. And I think we've got the right games to go to get back on this to get back on track again. I've been banging on about this 28 wins and this 28 wins. Regardless of what anyone says or how anyone feels about the last 3 games, we're literally still on track for 28 wins. If you go through the model that I've been doing in terms of having to win 3 out of the 4 games in each block of 4, yes, in this block of 4, we've won 1 out of 3, but if you remember in my other videos where I speak about how we've got a game in hand based on other blocks of 4 where we didn't lose a single game, we've basically used that in this block. So we're still on track. And if we beat Leicester, we win 2 out of the 4 games in this block, but we're still on track for for 28 wins. So, and 28 wins is basically dropping points in just 10 games. So we're still on track. I think we've only dropped points in, I think it will be 6 games. Yeah, I think we've only dropped points in maybe 6 games, 5 or 6 games. I think it's 6. So I think we're clearly still on track to getting back to where we need to be. In terms of like only dropping points in 10 games. The hardest games that we got left is Man City, Liverpool, Newcastle, and Chelsea. Obviously, there's some tricky games in between there, but I mean, it's not something that's impossible for us to do. So I feel like this is it's still doable. But at the same time, I don't even think Man City are going to be consistent enough to even get 28 wins or even 26 wins. You know what I mean? So even if we get 27 wins or 28 wins, I feel like it's still going to be enough for us to win the title. But yeah, we just need to focus on certain things, and I feel like we can get there. But yeah, so yeah, going into some key points from the game against Aston Villa, some things that I noticed and things like that. Ramsdale, what can I say about Ramsdale? I said on Twitter, I said that a conversation needs to be had about him based on some of the things. The thing with Ramsdale is that, first of all, he's really young. He makes great saves, like some big saves. Even in the Aston Villa game, he made a big save against Bailey, which literally saved us, because after that save is when we then went on to go and win the game. So obviously, if he didn't make that save, the game would have been done. So he makes some big saves, but then there's all these little, mistakes that he would then make. Like take the Brentford game, for example, where he comes out to try and win the ball but then completely misses the whole thing. Then in the Aston Villa game, the first goal, which I feel like he could have got something to the ball, and then the second goal, I don't know, it's hard with the second goal because I don't think I'm not sure if he could see clearly, so I don't really want to judge the second goal because I don't know if he could see clearly. I think he basically just jumped because early because he thought he couldn't see, so I don't really blame him too much on that. But the thing is that it's not like he's a good goalkeeper, can make good saves, but there's just moments that he just ends up having these moments like in games, and the thing is he'll go from having like a big moment and then he'll have like a silly moment in a game, and even in the game against Man City, for example, where his distribution is usually good. But then when we were under pressure, he wasn't helping the distribution situation at all because it was delaying the ball and things like that, and starting the build up, waiting until we were completely pressured. Then he starts to build up and starts passing. And I spoke about that in the video as well. It's just these little things that, but maybe it will come with experience, will come with age. I think he's like 24, so it's something that will come with time. But I feel like One of the reasons why we're not really going to be having those conversations right now is simply because we've got other crucial positions that we need to address. So until we address those positions, Ramsdale's position is not going to be seen as a priority at the moment, which probably isn't at the moment, but it's still like a concern when he has these certain things where you know he makes big saves, makes great saves, he's confident on the ball, his distribution, but then ends up making these little mistakes that ends up costing you like a goal or something like that, you know what I mean? But because there's been, I can't remember all the moments, but there's been moments, especially recently, there's moments against Aston Villa, moments against Brentford, moments against Man City. So the moments are there where he does these little things, but it's something that I feel like needs to be addressed, but probably isn't going to be something that's going to be addressed at the moment anyways. Another position as well that I wanted to talk about, Saka. Get this guy a contract, man. Put a contract on the table for this guy, anything, man. I'm telling you, because like, if this guy doesn't sign a contract soon, like I was saying on the timeline, I think like Real Madrid are going to start looking at, they're going to start sniffing around because they don't have a right winger. So they're going to start looking at him, and that's going to be hard for that's going to be hard for anyone to turn down, because those kind of opportunities don't come regularly, that the opportunity for him to go there, thinking about the fact that Mbappe might be going there, and then they've got Vinicius and things like that, and I feel like those three, Vinicius, Mbappe, Saka, and probably Haaland, are probably the best young forwards under 25 in the world. So when you think about those front four, like any player would want to be a part of that, would want to be a part of that, would want to be a part of that attack. So you wouldn't blame him too much if he tries to take opportunity. But at the end of the day, I think we need to quickly put a contract in front of him, get him to sign that contract, and ensure that we can keep him, man. Because this is an elite player, like a player. For me right now, he's a world class player, but he's got elite potential. He's got some ways to go, obviously, but like, flipping on, man. Everything he does in terms of his 1v1 dribbling, his ball carrying, his creativity, and at the same time he's scoring goals, making up the ball runs, carrying the ball over distance, progressive ball carrier, progressive passing, receives the ball back to goal, back to defenders, strong, quick, he's got balance, he's powerful. Just an unbelievable player. You can't play Saka 1v1. You have to double up on him, because if you play 1v1, it's over. The fullback is going to get sent off at some point, or he's going to just beat them and score a goal. Because look at what happened to Bernardo. He was just going past him constantly. Bernardo should have got a yellow card earlier in that game anyways. But yeah, man. Saka, man. Get that guy a contract, man. Get that guy a contract, man. This guy is too good. The next guy I want to talk about was Jorginho. With Jorginho, as I said before already, like, you can't take away what he does on the ball. What he does on the ball is unbelievable. He's a controller. He's got all this ability on the ball. He can build up play. He's smart. He understands. He understands how to, what's it called? He understands that how we want to play football. He understands it. He knows when we want to build up play at the back. He knows when we want to slow the tempo down, when we want to speed up the tempo. He understands when to do it and when the team needs it, and he's got good short passing. He's got good long passing. He can play in the final third as well. In terms of like when we're controlling teams and the teams are pinned back, he knows the right passes to make. He constantly makes final third entries. In the final third, he knows how to play those probing passes. Not to overextend or be too direct, or you end up losing the ball. I think that's also something that Partey needs to learn as well, in terms of like when you're building up play at times, you don't need to always rush it. You don't need to always be direct. At times you can always like play passes just for the sake of playing the pass, just for the sake of monopolizing possession, keeping the ball, circulating the ball, and just being calm on the ball, so you don't end up being too direct. Because when you're too direct, you can end up in an end-to-end game, because obviously you'd end up losing the ball a bit too much. So in that sense, Jorginho, I think he's got some stuff in the build-up play ahead of Partey. But Partey is the full package. Partey is not a liability in build-up play either. Even though there's certain things that he can improve on in the build-up play, he's not a liability, because he understands how to build up play. He understands what to do in the build up play. He's got the passing, he's got the short passing, he's got the long range passing, he's got the ball carrying. He's able to do another thing that Jorginho can't do, whereby if the angle is not open, he can hold onto the ball, dribble, and create another angle to play a pass, to create another angle to open up another passing lane. He can receive deep in a dangerous position, carry the ball, hold onto the ball, even whilst being pressed, to create space to buy some time and then find another guy. So there's some advantages that he's got in the build-up play that Jorginho doesn't have, and there's some advantages in the build-up play that Jorginho has that Partey doesn't have. But all round, Partey's got the full package, because he's not a liability in the build-up play, and then defensively, He's perfect. You know what I mean? Like he helps us. And one thing I always say is like, it's not that Jorginho isn't a good player, because Jorginho is not a bad player. Jorginho is a good player, but it's that once we're a team that can build up play anyways. Even if our defensive mid doesn't have those kind of abilities, we can still build up play based off the amount of like money we've invested in our defenders being able to pass the ball at the back. We've got Zinchenko, who basically stays in midfield. We've got the right back, Ben White, who drifts inside and stuff like that. So it's like we already can build up play. It's just a case of like when Partey isn't there, what's missed? It's the defensive ability. That's what's missed. That's what we miss. That's the main thing that's missing when Partey is not on the pitch, and that's not Jorginho's forte. Yes, Jorginho can tackle. Like, see the thing with when people talk about when people say Jorginho is not able to defend in certain ways, nobody's saying Jorginho can't defend if a guy's standing in front of him and he can make the tackle. Nobody thinks that Jorginho can't defend in this situation. He can defend in these situations. He's able to tackle a guy in front of him. Even Granit Xhaka is able to do that. Yeah, they can win duels. They can tackle what's in front of them. The problem becomes when teams start to make runs off the ball behind them. That's down to positioning. That's down to mobility. Yeah, those are the kind of things, those are the kind of situations whereby Jorginho lacks what Partey has. Is those positioning, those is just off the ball runs in behind, those runs where where you've got like a player making like an off the ball run in there, you need to read, you need to understand what's there. It's also a case of when the player is in a wide area or higher up the pitch, applying the right kind of pressure. Not the pressure where you're just a body that's there, but the kind of pressure that actually moves them and makes them make a decision where they have to either turn around or go to a different position. Take like as the first 2 goals for Aston Villa. Jorginho was present in midfield, but his pressure, and he tried to press them, but his pressure didn't do anything. It didn't make any effect. It had no effect on him. Tried to pressure the guy on the ball. I think it was Matty Cash who played the ball over the top for the first goal to Watkins, and it didn't cause any effect on Cash because the pressure wasn't enough. And then the same thing for the second goal as well. He tried to press out wide, but it didn't do anything. It didn't negate what Aston Villa were trying to do. They still were comfortable and they still played their pass in behind Ben White and then got their goal. So it's like, it's not that these guys can't tackle what's in front of them. It's that there's a difference between what a true defensive midfielder can do, like when Fabinho was at his peak, what Fernandinho was doing, what Partey does, when they can read the runs in behind. They've got the mobility, you know what I mean, to press higher up the pitch. They've got they've got the physical intensity when they need to apply pressure to ensure that pressure that they're applying is actually forcing the player that's on the ball to make a different decision, rather than you're just pressing them and they just continue to play. Like, there's a way you can press someone, but if you don't apply the right pressure, the guy's just going to continue to keep on playing, because at the end of the day, these are professional footballers and they're not going to just fold under pressure. They're going to continue to play regardless of your pressure, but if you put the right pressure on them, they'll find a different route, you see. And that's what was good, and then that delays their attack. And that's what the likes of Partey, that's the kind of stuff that we miss. This is why we've been linked to the likes of Rice and Caicedo, because these are guys who actually are very good defensively, and I feel like when Partey is not on the pitch, these are the kind of qualities that we missed. Obviously, we're going to go on a run of 6 games where we're going to dominate teams and we're going to be able to pin teams back. This is where Jorginho actually becomes very useful, because in these kind of games, as long as we can stay compact and organized defensively, and we're not asking him to make any recovery runs and stuff like that, he will be really good in those kind of games, because he will be able to dictate in the final third, play the right passes, pick the right guys, which is stuff that he knows how to do, and slow down the tempo and up it when it needs be as well. And I feel like in the next 5, 6 games, we're probably going to see the best of Jorginho. That's if Partey is not returning. Hopefully Partey returns, especially for the last like 10, 11 games of the season, because that's when we actually need him, when we're playing the likes of Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea, and stuff like that. And I think Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea and City, that's when we're going to need Partey, because it's not just going to be about what the defensive mid can do on the ball at that point. It's going to be about what he can do off the ball as well, and that's where Jorginho isn't able to help us. So yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is obviously Martinelli. We saw when he was going to score the goal and he was already celebrating already. Reminded me of that goal Thomas Rosicky scored for Dortmund. Where he had like an open goal and he was celebrating as he was running with the ball and celebrating, and before putting the ball in the back of the net. So that was good. That was nice to see from Martinelli. I like that. I like that he was actually having fun in that situation there. But yeah, the other thing that I do want to mention is the video we saw. There was a video going online from our assistant coach shouting at Trossard when Trossard was on the line, just about to make like an off the ball run in behind. That's the kind of run you see from the likes of Heung-min Son, Rashford. These kind of runs that they make, like the winger makes, just in behind, just just to beat the offside trap, because the opposition are pressing high up and they're playing the offside trap. So you try to make that curved, that curve kind of run from outside to inside. You just go across and just make that run in behind. I'm sure you see it will be like a run like that, and then you beat the offside trap, and then you go end up being 1v1. This is a run that Rashford does constantly. This is the kind of run that Rashford did to score his goal over the weekend on Sunday against was it Leeds? I think it was Leeds. I can't remember. No, it wasn't Leeds. I can't remember. But yeah, where Rashford scored, those kind of runs here. When you saw Trossard trying to make that run, you saw the coach shouting at him, telling him to stay wide, stay wide, stay wide. So it allows you to understand here where Martinelli gets this criticism, where our fans are like, well, he's not doing enough here, he's not doing enough there, he's not getting the goals, and just think this sort of thing like that, or the role doesn't seem suited to him. That's because the role is not really suited to him. Rashford is more like a. I'm not saying Rashford. Martinelli is more like a Rashford type of player, like a Heung-min Son kind of player. They're not guys that you want to just be stuck out wide, like really, really wide for the rest of the pitch. They need to be inside, who drifting inside, making these switching with players in there, making these off the ball runs, like beating the offside trap, because they got the pace, they got the shooting, and they got the finishing, and that's where they're gonna be at their best, when they're moving inside. And Martinelli was doing this a lot more, still playing the same role, but he was doing this a lot more because Gabriel Jesus was able to swap with him, stay out wide, and allow Martinelli to kind of be inside a lot more. And that's where Martinelli was thriving. But obviously, he's not able to make that kind of switch with Nketiah. So he's stuck out wide, and he has to. And he's following what the manager's asking him to do. He's being disciplined with the system, and he's playing really wide. But I don't think that role, when he plays there, when you have Zinchenko coming inside and Xhaka coming inside, is really suited to his natural talents, because he's more like an inside kind of player, like an inside forward, a central player. I think the kind of player that would thrive from that, from that kind of role in the team, would be someone like Saka on the opposite side. It's because Saka is a pure winger. He's got 1v1 ability. He can pick up the ball from wide, dribble it, carry it, be a player, and then drive with the ball inside. You see what I mean? So that's someone that, if we had someone on the left-hand side who's actually a good 1v1 winger, who can stay wide, pick up the ball wide, dribble with the ball from outside to inside. You see what I mean? That's what Arteta wants from that role. Someone who's going to pick up the ball from wide there and beat his 1v1 man situation and dribble inside with the ball. You see Saka do this a lot all the time. Saka will be out wide, he'll receive the ball, then he starts dribbling. Starts dribbling and starts bringing the ball inside, driving with the ball inside. Then the winger on the opposite side, once Saka then gets into the final third, that's when the winger on the opposite side can now start making runs into the box. That's when Arteta is fine with Martinelli making those off the ball runs into the box. When we're building from deep, he doesn't want him to make those runs. He wants him to stay wide and stretch the pitch to create gaps in the middle. But once we're in the final third, Arteta's fine for them to do what they want. I think it was Pep who had that quote where he said, from the goal to maybe like the edge of the box, it's all controlled. He wants it to be controlled. That's his coaching. That's where he says basically, I will bring you to the edge of the box, but once you're at the edge of the box, everything else from there is up to you. You can do whatever you want. So it's all about the build-up play. Pep, Arteta, these kind of managers, they will bring you to that build-up. They will teach you, coach you how to get the ball from the back all the way to the edge of the box. But once you're on the edge of the box, that's when it's all individual quality. Then you can go ahead and do what you want and do then you can start rotating, you can start switching positions, you can start attacking the box, you can do whatever you want. And that's the thing with Saka. So what Arteta really wants from Martinelli out wide is not to drift inside too early, stay out wide, stretch the pitch, create space in the middle. But when you are out wide, then you start dribbling the ball and carry the ball up into the final third. Then everyone can start moving inside. And Saka is really good at this because he's a 1v1 pure winger. He can carry the ball from wide. Martinelli's got dribbling, but he's not like a clean dribbling. It's more like a Rashford, Son kind of dribbling. It's more of a direct goal scoring, like trying to create space for yourself to shoot or cross and things like that. It's not like a pure 1v1 winger, 1v1 dribbler. So I think from wide, what we will need from that area long term, we need a more pure winger in that kind of position, especially if we're playing this kind of role. I've seen guys like Liao, even like someone like Mitoma, even though I don't think that someone will go for because of his age and the price tag and stuff like that. But someone like Mitoma is got someone that's really good in that, because he's a pure winger. He's a guy that can dribble the ball from out wide and carry it inside. Muani from Frankfurt as well, the French winger. Cherky, I think Yeah, Cherky, the French player as well. Him and Rafael Leao. These are guys that can carry the ball over long distance from what in the wide area, dribble the ball and dribble the ball inside. You know what I mean? So they're better dribblers, you know, than what Martinelli is. And these are the kind of guys that I feel like we can be looking at in the summer transfer window to try and play that role perfectly, who can actually do that role. And then when we get to the final third, everyone can start rotating and moving inside and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like those are the kind of options that we need to be looking at, and that's probably why Martinelli isn't getting into these scoring situations as much as what he was doing at the start of the season. But yeah, but in looking at that, it's not a criticism of like even when I saw that video, I didn't have a problem with what the assistant coach was telling Trossard to do. It's not a criticism. There's a reason why we play like that. There's a purpose to it. The reason being is because we want the wingers to stay really wide to create spaces in that middle. You get it? To create gaps so we can build up play, because it's hard to build up play when, take for example, your defenders have the ball, you're trying to build the ball out the back. It's really going to be difficult to build up play when you've got, like, when your wingers are inside. If your wingers are inside, their fullbacks are going to be inside as well. Their centre backs are going to be closer to each other. Therefore, their wingers will be closer to each other as well. Their midfielders will be closer to each other. So therefore, it closes the gaps in the middle. You know what I mean? It closes the gaps in the midfield so they can be compact and be very organised. So your defenders and your midfielders from deep don't have the option to play the pass because there's no space in the middle. But when you stretch the pitch and everyone is stretched out wide, it creates gap in the middle. You know, there's going to be spaces in the middle whereby your defenders can find guys between lines. Your midfielders can find guys between lines. Your midfielders and your attacking midfielders, your eights, the interiors, basically the roles that Ødegaard and Saka are playing, they can be able to find spaces in between lines because your wingers are stretching the pitch. If your wingers are out wide, their fullbacks have to pay attention to them, so they also have to stretch the pitch and stay really wide as well. So therefore, creates gap in the middle, and then our midfielders can then go into those space, and our build-up play, our defenders and midfielders can start finding those guys in between lines. So that's the advantage when you have the wingers stretching the pitch out wide. But obviously, you need a certain profile of winger to be able to utilize the ball in the wide areas like that. And I feel like that's where I'm saying we need to find the right wingers, but at the same time, or the right left winger. But at the same time, as I'm saying, we also need to have the right midfielders in the middle to be able to exploit those spaces as well. And this is where Xhaka has been struggling recently, because at the start of the season he was doing it, but now you can see that it's not something that's natural to him. We need more players who are more, because as the wingers are stretching the pitch, there's space in the middle for the likes of Ødegaard and the likes of Xhaka to use. Ødegaard has been using that space quite well, but Xhaka has not really been using that space really well recently. What you want in his position is someone who can receive the ball between lines, turn and attack the box, because the space is right there. Turn, attack the box, start running directly at their midfield, start to pull defenders out because you're carrying the ball, dribbling. Something like what Smith Rowe could do. You know, this is Smith Rowe's profile. It's just that he's never available because he's always injured. But that's the kind of profile. Smith Rowe will pick up the ball in the midfield, receive in between, and start to drive, start to disorganize their shape, and then you can pick out the wingers in the wide areas. Then you can pick out the other winger. Then you can pick out the striker making runs in behind, or your other eight, Ødegaard, who's also there as well. And I feel like, obviously, we saw that missed chance from Ødegaard. For me, I feel like Ødegaard is more of a midfielder than a forward. You know, when you look at the likes of De Bruyne and Bruno Fernandes and even Maddison and stuff like that, these are more direct and more decisive kind of attacking midfielders. You know, they're more like forward. You know, they're very direct kind of players. Ødegaard to me looks more like, I think long term he's gonna start dropping back a bit more and becoming more of like an interior, becoming more of like a midfielder, like more of a deeper player, someone who's controlling the game, setting the tempo, playmaking. I feel like that's where he thrives the most. He's more like a playmaker, like a pure playmaker kind of guy, not someone who's making off the ball runs into the box, direct kind of guy and things like that. I feel like that's more of the player that we need to find to play with Ødegaard. I feel like we need to find someone more decisive, someone more direct to play with Ødegaard. Who that kind of chance that fell to Ødegaard falls to that player instead, and that player will be able to take the chance. Someone like Smith Rowe, if Smith Rowe was able to stay fit, I feel like he's got the right profile. Fabio Vieira is another one who's got the profile as well. He just needs to continue to work on the defensive responsibility that he's going to have playing in the midfield three. But other guys we can look for in the transfer window, obviously Bellingham is there, but he might be too expensive for us, or he might have other suitors that he'll go to. But Bellingham has got the right profile. Again, another guy who can play carry the ball, receive in between lines, direct runner with the ball, get into the box and can score goals from midfield. That's the kind of guy. Maddison is another guy who has that profile. Paqueta at West Ham, the same as well. And then I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Shubashar. I don't know, man. You know who I'm talking about by that name, man. He plays for, I think it's Austria. And right now he plays for Leipzig. Very direct, number 10. We've been linked with him for years, but he's a very direct guy. Got a great shot on him as well. Great shooting technique. Can receive between lines. Can play final balls and can shoot himself as well. So I think those are the kind of profiles that I feel like would thrive next to someone like Ødegaard, where Ødegaard would be more of the playmaker. The more like, think about the dynamics between David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne. One was more of like a playmaker kind of guy, and the other one was more like a direct, like a direct end product kind of guy. But anyways, those are my thoughts on everything. But yeah, man, see you guys in the next video, man.